Welcome back. We've been talking about all the things we love about being Canadian. Well, one local woman was a true Canadian hero. Margaret Seymour, better known as Granny Seymour, was an Aboriginal elder who lived into her hundreds.
They are pieces of local history. With the help of the Aboriginal community and the Exploration Place Museum and Science Centre, artifacts of the late Granny Seymour are on display at the museum.
But she is one of those people who has captured the whole community's imagination. It's been a while since her passing in 1966, but she obviously had some sort of charisma that just made the whole connected with the whole community.
Granny Seymour's mother was a Haida princess, and her father was from the Cree Nation.
Her grandfather or great-grandfather was one of the people that came with Fraser on the fur trade. So she has these connections to the history here that catch people's attention.
Granny had married in Fort St. James and then moved to the South Fort George area with her 2 children. There she lived common law for many years with Billy Seymour and raised 6 children.
In living in sin, as they would have put it at that time. So this is the late 1800s, very early 1900s. It's not acceptable for lots of people. So she was not allowed to go to church, the Catholic Church. But every Sunday she took her children and went to the church, and outside the fence she would kneel down and do her praying with the children. Billy Seymour, who was living with her, he was not allowed on the reserve anymore. So there was some stigmas there, but they still held their dignity.
She was a very strong-willed person and usually opposed many things and stood up for herself. A lot of the characteristics that I look towards.
Granny Seymour practiced her traditional ways, making clothes out of animal hides.
Did sewing and beading and made things. So she practiced that.
During Margaret Seymour's life, many people consulted with her about her traditional ways of herbal medicine. She was a midwife to both Aboriginals and white people in the Prince George area.
There's a book that has Granny Seymour's herbal remedies and that sort of thing. So she did document, or someone documented some of the things that she used to do.
Still, at the age of 105, she lived alone in a cottage, splitting her own wood. Every Sunday morning, she would begin her 3-kilometer walk to church. On her birthday, she received telegrams from the Queen and Prime Minister. Granny passed away in March of 1966 at the age of 114. And at the time, newspapers called her a legend. Dave Branco, CKPG News.
It's a national pastime we all know and love, hockey. But with the rising costs of equipment, ice time, and tournaments, it means some families are having troubles taking part.
The sun may be out and the snow long gone, but hockey is still top of mind for the Hards family. Joyce and Brian Hards have worked hard to put their 3 sons through the rigors of the minor hockey system in Prince George. It takes an ever-growing amount of their income to dedicate to Canada's national pastime.
It wasn't so bad when you're playing Tykes and Novice and Adams, but what I found is when you got into the rep system and Pee-wees, when you got 1 in there, it's not too bad. When you start getting older and you got 2 playing in rep and then you got 3 playing in the rep system, what I find is you got your fundraising, you have your raffles, you have your travel, you got your ice costs, you got everything related to a travel team.
The Hards spent $23,000 on hockey last season for the 3 boys. Our national sport creates such an expense for the family. Joyce works 2 jobs and 80 hours a week to make it work. She even found time to sit on the executive for Prince George Minor Hockey until the end of the season. Hockey fees are ever increasing for kids starting right at initiation all the way to midget.
It's not quite as bad for kids who are playing house hockey, but once your kid wants to try out to play the competitive rep hockey, it gets a lot more expensive.
It's the love of the game which keeps them along this path. Brian managed his youngest son Darren's Bantam team last season, a program with a $90,000 budget. Regular minor hockey fees in Prince George range from $475 to $615. And if you've got kids playing in rep, those costs go up, up, up.
Our teams get formed in September, and then we pay a monthly fee as well, which is like for midget 1 will be probably $500 a month. But that doesn't include all the extras either, right? All the traveling and stuff that the parents do to go watch.
Another challenge is trying to bring teams from out of town to play in the north.
You couldn't get any teams to come north. And you almost had to pretty well say, I'll waive the entry fee to get you here. And sometimes they still wouldn't come. So when they wouldn't come, and that's 5 or 6 games that you're not going to get through the season, so then you got to pay that money to go.
The other large expense is the cost of ice. The city manages the arenas in Prince George.
We have many different rate structures, but the 2 biggest ones that are used are youth rates, which are right now around $85 an hour, and then adult rates are a little bit more than $120 an hour.
Regardless of the challenges around the cost of Canada's national pastime, the love of their children and of hockey makes it all worthwhile. Zamir Karim, CKPG News.
Coming up after the break, if Canada had a national drink, this would be it.